I'm going to go ahead and call the leadership team meeting for the Libertarian Party of Pinellas County to order. Were there any additions, subtractions, substitutions that we wished to make to the agenda, or was my 74 minutes exactly what you guys were hoping for on this final day of June 2021?
Yeah, we'll go with what the 74 minutes. That's
Well,
all that I could ever dream of.
I kind of figured that was the case. Nate, do you have anything in the addition, subtractions, substitutions situation?
Nope.
All right. Hearing that there are none, can we just approve the agenda by acclamation?
Motion.
Second.
All right. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens, our attendance is pretty easy. It's you, me, and Miss Herrera with our guest from Pensacola. We've got a quorum. Would you like to go ahead and talk about the previous meeting minutes?
Yes. Prior meeting minutes. They are, as always, up on the meeting minutes section of the website. That is under the events tab. The only real thing I think is super worth mentioning. Well, I'll start from the top. Call to order. This was on May 26th, 7 p.m. Call to order. Quorum was met. At the time, we were still waiting state returns for our 527 paperwork. We were looking for our in-person meeting location, which we have now found. We have a cantina in South St. Pete. County affairs. I'll talk about this more later, but nothing has changed. They're still going back and forth over where should we spend this money that we took from people.
Sure.
And then some of our upcoming events, which will be spoken about later.
Fantastic. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Ms. Herrera?
I motion to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We'll go ahead and open things up if either Mr. Stevens or Ms. Herrera wishes to take their leadership team hat off and address the body as a member for member comments. I would also, if you would like, we can open it up to Ms. Burris as well, who has joined us from Pensacola, if she would just like to say hi, if neither one of you want to take the full 5 minutes.
I got nothing.
Nothing from you, Mr. Stevens. Ms. Herrera, anything for member comment?
Nothing from me.
All right. Ms. Burris, if you're interested, feel free to just kind of give us a hello and where you're from and why you're hanging out with us on this wonderful Wednesday evening.
I'm here from Pensacola, and I came across this meeting on Facebook because I'm a part of the Libertarian Party, and I just wanted to visit in and learn more about what we do and what I could learn from this that I could take over here in Pensacola.
Fantastic. Well, we definitely hope that you feel welcome. And if you have any questions as we're going along, chat or raising your hand are perfect. And if there are no objections from the other members of the leadership team, we'll recognize you for those questions and comments.
Okay.
Thank you. Camilo's here. Perfect timing.
Nice.
He's just in time to start. Camilo is here just in time to start with his first agenda item, item number 6, our ever lingering, never going away 527 paperwork and payment processor switch agenda item, which is our first business item of every meeting, probably for the rest of this term. Mr. Colina, would you like to give us an update?
Yeah, thanks, Brett. So the update on the IRS paperwork is I did get verification that they received the paperwork, but no updates as of yet on that. Sure. Beyond that. As far as the payment processing, Brett, as you know, we recently received notice from PayPal that they're increasing rates. But we did go ahead and submit for payment processing this week. We are still in underwriting currently, which can take 3 to 5 business days. Today is day 2. So after everything was signed, so we should hopefully by early next week, let's say, have everything situated there and be up and running and switched and getting away from those higher rates from PayPal. So the only caveat to that is we are currently filing as a for-profit because we do not yet have validation from the IRS about our nonprofit status. Once we submit that, we'll be able to get lower rates on behalf of that nonprofit status, but it's not a significant impact either way. It's still going to be a lot cheaper than PayPal is, no matter what. So, but that's where we're at with everything else going forward. Do you guys have any questions on that?
Oh, sorry, Jasmine, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't have questions yet.
So just to make sure that we're clear for anybody who is here or watches this after the fact and has not been keeping up with this ongoing saga, we filed for an EIN. We have filed with the Florida Secretary of State SunBiz so that we can operate as the Libertarian Party of Pinellas County and use the name in that way, all in preparation to have 527 paperwork drawn up so that we are able to operate as a political acting nonprofit, which the IRS classifies as a 527. That is the final step in us becoming legit in the eyes of the omnipotent state, making sure that we have all of our paperwork in order. And we are literally just waiting on the IRS now, but it was our payment processor switch away from PayPal that kind of started this whole, see, Camilo thought that we were going to have something that was going to be real quick and easy. And instead it has turned into a year-long story. So we're hoping that the IRS will get back to us shorter than the typical 6-month turnaround time on the paperwork that was filed. Did I summarize it pretty well there, Camilo?
Perfectly.
All right, fantastic. If there's nothing else about that we want to talk about, we can talk about our July in-person meeting location and a change in the operations with regard to our remote participation. I have secured Nueva Cantina for July the 15th, which would be our next meeting date. It would be the 3rd Thursday of July. We have the room from 6:30 to 9, just like we did before. But I did get some feedback that we need to do a better job with our remote participation option. This was our first hybrid meeting where we had in-person and remote. And I've got to say, managing the meeting both in person and managing the Zoom was rather difficult, especially when the camera was not facing me, because that meant the screen was not facing me. So I think what we're probably going to do going forward is I'll use my personal Zoom to set up a camera. Just use, I imagine, my phone. And if somebody would be so kind as to manage either on my computer or theirs, the official party Zoom to record and make sure that we are turning to see all of the people and making sure that we're bringing people in from the waiting room and the like, that would be terrific. Jasmine and I had talked a little bit about that possibly falling to her, but I wanted to get some feedback from you guys about how you thought best for that to work. I know in the past, the secretary in the prior administration handled the Zoom, and then there was a second one for the chair. Thoughts?
No, it sounds good. As long as we have a strategy to make sure that we're managing it, of course, better for, all participants and everything like that, then yeah, that's a great solution. However, we need to work that out. Just let me know what we need, and I'll certainly help in any way, whether it's managing the camera or the microphone or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, I would second that. There's not a ton I can do during the meeting when I'm working on minutes, but
Right.
I would pose that, having gone back and watched a little bit of it, I think the mic quality for people in person was phenomenal.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's the one that I use for a lot of different things, and I'm actually using for this meeting. Jasmine, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm thinking with that, we can go to what we discussed where I can handle making sure that people get let into Zoom. Well, I guess we could just work out the details of like if you want me to like hold the laptop or a phone. I can work on that because you're doing the most speaking during the meetings. So it makes sense for one of us, like me or Camilo, I think, to work on doing that, making sure people are let in. I don't know if you want to split that up where like he handles the microphone and I can handle letting people in. I don't know if, like, to me that sounds like the most logical way to do it.
Okay. I'm fine with that either way. I just think that, you know, when we had our former chair, he said that he tried 3 or 4 times to get into the meeting and it never seemed to pop up when the screen was facing me, that he was in the waiting room, that was probably something that we should be addressing.
Okay, yeah, so we could do it to where I will let people in and then I can just pass it over during the time that I speak, which should be pretty short.
Right. Well, and we can also use, if we want, we can use my phone as the one that points to people and just have one that manages the meeting. We can figure it out, but I just wanted you guys to be thinking about the best ways to manage remote participation.
Okay, it would be cool to do like a little practice before the meeting to try that as well, if we can set that up. That way we can kind of figure out what works best before the meeting.
Awesome. Sounds good. Mr. Stevens, you are next up. Tell us a little bit about city county meetings.
So the only, I think the only real thing of note is the budget. We've been going back and forth for like a month now. I can't speed them up. They want to bicker and bicker about, oh, where are we going to put this $1,000? Where are we going to put that $1,000? So I've been doing my best to keep along. They have a 1 or 2 budget information or work sessions every month, but I can't really say anything about it until I get a physical piece of paper that says, here's the exact dollar amount that goes here.
Have they not provided that in the work sessions to attendees? Is there not a link to it or anything?
Next month, I'm going to go in person and see if I can get, like, maybe there's a hard copy and it isn't linked on like the follow-up agenda. Yeah. I don't know, but it, like, we should
in my experience, there's a big binder that has all of the budgetary prior budgets, proposed budgets, some of the things that they've talked about changing. So there are usually 3 or 4 different budgets that are in there, and it's usually on paper in a binder. So that may be what we're lacking with remote participation in those meetings.
Yeah. They don't have any online version of those proposals or anything like that for posterity?
I mean, they have a full like online legislar, and it's great to use. I love using it, but if there's been any, I'm going to say hard copy of even a proposed budget, I've not seen it. So I'm going to go ask at the next meeting, either just a general work meeting, a general meeting, or a budget devoted session. But when I do finally get a budget, I will certainly be leaning a lot on Brett and Camilo for this large document.
Generally what happens, Camilo, is it's not until they have an approved budget that they publish anything, because they don't want drafts to go out being talked about as if they had been approved. And while it's very easy to have that draft watermark on them, they choose instead to hide behind the fact that they don't wish for a draft to be promoted as if it has been approved. They're following the letter of the law rather than the spirit, Camilo. Mr. Stevens, anything else that we need to know about the county commission meetings?
Yeah, that's about it. As usual, if anything cool or unusual comes up, you'll hear mention of it.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So for those of you who, I think everybody here is aware, our first Coffee Talk speaker Professor Horowitz passed away this week. We currently have scheduled his wife for our August coffee talk. I have not spoken with her aside from sharing my condolences about the upcoming. Is that something that we should reach out to see if she wishes to postpone, or only wait, or only do so if she reaches out to me? She has access to communicate with me at any time. I know that she's got a lot going on with the last couple of days. So I don't want to impose on all the things that are going on at the moment.
I think it would be best to wait until she reaches out to you.
Yeah, I second
agree.
that.
Okay. I just wanted to reach out, see what you guys thought before taking any action or inaction. Next one. So I brought this up in Slack, and I've talked with you guys a little bit about it one-on-one. And I really didn't do it in a we need to act now kind of a way. But as I am understanding, there are more and more of you who have a feeling similar to me with regard to the capabilities and accessibility of our website, pinellasLP.org. Some things that I have noted that I would like to see that, again, they aren't immediate needs, but they are things that we should be looking for in kind of the same way that we saw the change in payment processor led us down the road of needing to file for an EIN, filing with SunBiz, and setting up a 527. We have a website that it is very difficult to edit without HTML and backend knowledge, or reaching out to the person who created it. Outside of being able to create events, which I do frequently, Nate has done as well, without outside of creating and publishing meeting minutes, which Nate does for all of our meetings, and any articles that we wish to publish about issues that are important to us, it is very difficult to edit the website. In addition, there's no Facebook Pixel, there's no Google Analytics installed. It's just snippets of code on the website. I've asked, and it wasn't deemed necessary when it was built. And so I don't want to ask someone who is voluntarily helping us in this regard add to their workload. So I wanted to talk to you guys about your thoughts with our website going forward. Obviously, we need to keep the domain name. I have already set up a test or sandbox subdomain and installed WordPress there. If that's the way that we wish to go, we can build it behind the scenes and then roll it out to the main site later. Thoughts?
Yeah, Brett, you and I kind of talked about this, and I'll echo that here now. Is I really think we do need to move over to WordPress because it gives us the ability to add in simple open source plugins to achieve a lot of the things that we want to do. Find things on the website a little easier for people that are visiting. So the events that they appear in not reverse chronological order like they are now. And some other things, and it gives us the flexibility to tweak it as needed. It's really simple and easy to use. The plugins are basically idiot proof. And it would also help with our payment processing because they have an outstanding gateway that we plug right in to our website, and it makes everything so much easier for everyone for donations and things like that. So I move that we do switch everything over to like a WordPress setup. So whatever you have in the sandbox, we can, come up with a draft and add some ideas that we all want to see in the working final version, and then go from there and vote on it. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I certainly get behind it. Like, it's just small things with our current website. Like, I would like to be able to edit the order in which our current events appear, because a little bit back, I accidentally put the officer meeting minutes before the regular business minutes, and I would like them to be in the order in which they occurred. Small things like that, or maybe I'll accidentally make an event for May business meeting minutes twice, and now I have to wait and people are going to get confused. So just small things. So I would certainly get behind switching over to WordPress. My next thought would be I hesitate to say knowledgeable and experienced, but have a limited amount of knowledge and experience with WordPress. I'd certainly, I'd certainly be willing and able to put in some time and effort with that. Do we want to like hire a professional? That's just the first thing that comes across my mind. What's our thoughts? Like, I'm not leaning hard either way here, but is that an expenditure we want to make or do it ourselves? I don't know.
Well, based on costs, hiring someone professionally to do it would wipe out the entire treasury. If we
Okay.
wanted something that was worth paying someone to do. I have a pretty significant amount of experience. However, I don't know that that is necessarily the best and highest use of my time, energy, and effort. I brought up the issue to begin with just to be thinking about, and it could be that we just search among the members to see if there's anybody who might be interested in helping out in that way. And that might actually take care of the questions that I believe that we have. I saw that Ms. Herrera was about to speak right before I did, so I want to make sure that she gets the floor as well. Ms. Herrera?
I was actually thinking that maybe that could be something that could grow into one of the at-large positions or responsibilities the upcoming term, where we have someone like handle the website and media.
So I think that would be difficult. And the reason that I say that, when you have a position that is elected by the body, but you have designs on what that position is to entail, you run into a conflict frequently. What may be a better way is to appoint someone in a role that is defined and they are serving at the pleasure of this body, the leadership team, so that if we do find that they are not doing well in that role, we could seek a replacement or seek an open seat in that role. Whereas with an elected position, that is not something that you can do without going against the will of the body in convention. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Now-
that makes perfect sense.
Now, would that be something that currently falls under the job description for secretary? And I'm sorry, Nate, not to add more work to you, but would that be something that falls under that current description now, since they manage like the social media and all that stuff as well?
I don't believe there is a bylaw that defines the role of secretary having that role. Nate assumed the duties that Sebastian had been performing as the prior secretary.
Yeah, I thought that's why I think I like the idea that you came up with, where we can hopefully find somebody within the party who would like to volunteer for that.
Okay. I imagine that we can probably do this another time because this isn't a time sensitive issue. And I certainly don't want to take any longer because we're coming up on the 10 minutes that I had allotted for it. So be thinking about how we wish to present that. Do we want to wait until a meeting? Do we want to introduce it prior to a meeting via email and social media to the list? That kind of a thing. About the role that we are seeking and the type of volunteer that we would like to see in that role. Is that kind of, would we want to do it at a meeting, or would we want to do it outside and then include it in a meeting? Thoughts about process really.
Yeah, I like the idea of sending that out before the
Okay.
meeting so people are prepared and already kind of like thinking about it or looking for it so that they know prior to a meeting. Like if that's in their head that they want to do that, they can show up to the meeting and like, you know, be prepared to like volunteer.
Okay. Is that something that we wish to put on the agenda for the July 15th meeting, or do we want to wait until August until we've had more time to discuss amongst ourselves kind of where we would like to see it?
I don't see much harm in sort of just throwing a ground ball. Hey, here's the situation with our website. We're looking to switch to WordPress, open-ended. Anyone have experience, the time to sort of help us get our WordPress website off the ground running? I don't see too much harm in that.
Okay. Ms. Herrera, I saw you unmute for a second there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if by the 15th we kind of have that idea hashed out, we could, I think, potentially send that out before the meeting. And kind of maybe play it by ear before like the agenda comes out. If by then we're crunched for time, then we'll push it to August.
Well, so that you guys know, I'm calling that meeting tomorrow because it would be 2 weeks prior, which means that the agenda would need to be available on the 8th. So we're talking about a week if we want to put something out and have it on the July 15th meeting agenda.
I think it might be safer to wait till August.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
No worries. No worries. I like to give you guys a look at where I'm looking at things on a calendar and the process and the schedule of things, so that we get away from a lot of the, oh, that sounds like a good idea, let's do it next week. And there's a lot of steps that have to take place, as you'll see when we get down to agenda item 13. When it comes to process and schedule, there's definitely a process to do a lot of these things. If there's no more discussion on number 10, we can move to 11, which is I floated the idea about us getting together in person, either on a weekday evening or on a weekend, for a work session where we get to know more about the role of others within the leadership team, so that, let's say, I get hit by a bus, Jasmine isn't completely blindsided when she has to run her first meeting or when she has to send out notices and the like. And if Camilo gets hit by a bus, we're not all scrambling on how to prepare a treasurer's report and log into, right now, PayPal, Regions, and BitPay to see where our money is, how it stands, what we've spent, and the like. Really, it's just for us to know more about the roles of others, and it'll make it easier for us to get things done so that we're not duplicating efforts. I know that Ms. Herrera has a preference for a weekday evening. Mr. Stevens, Mr. Colina, do you have any preferences when it comes to weekday evenings or weekends?
Weekday evenings. I'll specifically shout Thursdays are nice for me. Yeah, Thursday evenings work nice for me. I don't know if we want to meet at Nueva before a meeting. All good with me.
I don't know that we'll have enough time to do it before a business meeting.
All right. Yeah, but I'm open.
Okay.
Yeah, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and then weekends are good for me. And as long as I have at least a couple days notice, I can, work things around or whatever.
Okay.
Same boat, like pretty much ditto what Camilo said, except for weekend.
So Wednesday, Thursday evenings are when we're looking. There's no chance anybody would want to do this on a Tuesday evening, is there? No.
No want, but I'm open.
I could, but I think I set the rest of my Cairo appointments for Tuesdays at like 5:30, so it would have to be at like 7 or 7:30.
Okay. Mr. Kalina, anything that you wanted to weigh in?
No, I mean, I can work out a Tuesday as long as it's not like regularly on Tuesdays, because I usually have something on Tuesday nights. But if it's just one Tuesday, I can make it happen.
Okay. I would prefer a Tuesday. It's the easiest night for me currently. But I'll let you guys, we'll figure it out, but I wanted to go ahead once again and getting the ball rolling. Ms. Herrera, you have the next agenda item, number 12, talking about merchandise and business cards.
Awesome. Okay. So I started looking at ways to design, t-shirts and stuff, but I wanted to obviously get everybody's input before, I come up with something to like present for us to kind of roll out or look at actually printing. So the biggest thing I think I figured out, especially after kind of showing my first little draft to Brett, we need to come up with a good like slogan or like phrase that kind of emphasizes we are, like a local libertarian party, from Pinellas, which I don't know if like you guys can come up, like I'm not going to ask you to come up with something right now, but if there's anything you guys could like think of, I guess over the next, couple of weeks or so to kind of help me come up with a slogan. And then I was thinking of yellow because, that's pretty much the color. Does anybody have any other color ideas besides yellow to use?
The gray is a nice color.
The gray, okay.
The gray that you see right here.
Okay.
I know
it's a little easier on the eyes.
Purple.
Purple?
Yes, it's because as libertarians, we kind of represent the best, what's good about both of the main parties, the Democrat and Republican. So to combine the red and the blue, we have purple. So also purple, this is kind of whimsical, but purple is the color of royalty. So it's just, to me, it seems positive all around.
Okay, I like that idea. I have a couple of purple libertarian shirts too, so.
I'll just shout out the I know you can find exact details for the color kits on the branding page on LP Action.
Okay, you said on the branding
and
page.
that's lpaction.org.
Boom. lpaction.org/branding.
Oh, that looks very familiar. I may have been there once or twice.
Yeah, I reference this all the time because I'm not gonna remember these color hashes when I'm photoshopping something random.
I like it. Okay. Yeah, so there's just that needing to find phrases. And what I would like to do is have them for when we start participating in like actual local events, not just, our own like socials and stuff, but that way when we're at local events, it'll draw hopefully like, curiosity and questions where we can kind of start a conversation with like other people who are around. So I'll try to, work this more, hopefully have something a little bit more concrete by the next meeting. And then on top of that, what other merchandise would be feasible for us to kind of have that's, not super expensive, that we can kind of get in abundance, that wouldn't break the bank?
Stickers are the cheapest.
Okay.
Baseball hats.
Baseball hats and stickers.
I know.
The reason that I say stickers is mostly a cost thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, so for like slogans and phrases, I guess like the biggest thing would be coming up with something that kind of points to us as the local, county libertarian party as well. Which, like I said, like if nobody can think of anything now, like just kind of toss it over, because the biggest issue I thought like that, me and Brett noticed was the shirts were too busy because I tried to like stick too much in them.
Yeah, they were a little busy.
They were a little busy. And then for design ideas, I was kind of thinking either, Our Lady of Liberty or the torch, and then possibly like an outline of the county. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
I like the idea of the outline of the county and like put it in the background or something like that, and then have like the whatever slogan or whatever across it. That'd be pretty cool.
Okay.
You know, it's amazing how similar to the flame in the torch, there's a way that we could put the county on top of the torch.
Oh, like so you're talking about like make the county kind of like the flame.
Yes.
Okay.
Put it atop the torch, and we could keep the branding elements as they stand. Make the county yellow, and put it where the eagle currently is, if that's something that you might be interested in.
Okay. Yeah, I'll play with that.
To help, you know. Yes, sir.
Just a thought, knowing that I'm one of the few, if not the only person who's ordered, Frank Craft has a, I'm gonna say, pretty stacked online merch store. Maybe we wanna, I'm sure it would loop well into a WordPress, but it's all sorts of stuff. You know, shirts, polos. I don't know what company he uses specifically for it, but it's frankforcongress.com/shop. That will go in the chat, but plenty of stuff to scroll through, pictures to
I
look
imagine
at.
that those are print on demand, which would probably be our best bet.
Yeah.
Rather than buying in bulk at first, we'll get a Teespring or something like that so that we're not having to front the cost of a poor design or a poor phrasing that we want to change later, or that another administration wishes to see differently.
Okay, so that's a good idea. Okay, so what's a good goal date to kind of have prototypes, I guess? I'm kind of thinking by like September.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any better ideas, like or maybe August?
Yeah.
My
August.
graphic design skills are not very good.
Yeah, mine are very mediocre as well.
Yeah, August, September, I'll whip some stuff up in Photoshop, just, you know, general with Pinellas County on the torch, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna
right.
float the question, do we want to hire a professional graphic designer? I have no bearings of how much that would cost.
Or we could ask if anybody skills, any of the members.
That would be a fantastic email to come from Jasmine to the membership.
Yep, I will do that.
I would like to add this though, as far as like what items we're putting up, we just need to make sure that we give the bank, whenever we set up our processing, we give them at least 24-hour notices of what items we're adding, or if it's being drop shipped, then we have to give them the information on where it's being drop shipped from, because the bank considers that any association with any products being sold a liability if we're not selling it direct, so they need to know that information. So when we get down that road, just keep me kind of abreast of like what direction we're headed, and like what I can do on my end to make sure that we've got everything situated perfectly for our processing and such.
In my experience with on-demand printing, we don't even handle payment processing. So I don't know that we would even need to talk with the bank about it.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Just
Like
whatever.
a T-Shop or Teespring, they generally handle all of it. And those have gotten a lot cheaper than they used to be. I did one 5 years ago. I believe they were $11 a shirt. I sold them for $20. I priced them at $20, and that went pretty well. And then the $9 went to the preferred gubernatorial candidate of my choice. And that one worked out pretty well. Mr. Herrera, was there anything else you wanted to have? You still got a couple minutes.
Nope, I'm good. That was it for that.
Business cards?
I have
yes. Say,
sorry.
what's the question?
Yeah, no, real quick. Do we have anybody local that is in the Libertarian Party, like officially a member of the party that does printing on demand, that we might be able to give that business to them rather?
Print on demand is very difficult to have locally. I do know of one t-shirt printer that is local, but I don't know that they would have a print on demand feature. Generally, you go to them and purchase 50, 100, 500, 1,000 shirts of varying sizes. Print on demand is a very unique business to get into, and generally very difficult to find someone local unless you are in a transportation hub like Cincinnati, Memphis, Dallas, and some others.
I could ask or kind of add that in the email when I form it, and ask if there's anybody who locally could print on demand. Just put feelers out, see if anybody responds.
Sounds good. Ms. Herrera, business cards, tell us about them.
Okay, so the one thing I also think we definitely need to or should have, I think we should all have business cards, especially if we're going to other conventions, or when we actually do start participating out and about, local, say beach cleanups or any other events. Like, I know I've talked about us trying to figure out a way eventually to participate in farmers markets or any other ideas where somebody can actually have that and hold on to that if they want to contact us for anything. Once again, I would need a design for that, but we could probably kind of mirror whatever we use for t-shirts as well, or just kind of stick with the Libertarian logos that we kind of already see around, like the one that's above Brett's head. I guess for that, after we figure out exactly how we want to design that, the same thing, trying to figure out, do we want a local printer, which I think would be
we
a
have
good
a
idea.
local printer.
Okay, so that's perfect for that. So I guess for then, what all should we put on the business cards besides name, email address?
So you're looking at individual cards for what
Each
would
of the
be
officers.
expanding to 7 people come January?
Yes.
Is your anticipation that we would utilize our own funds or party funds for them to be printed?
Yeah, that's something I would want everybody to kind of help decide, what would be best if we're using our own funds or the party funds for those.
I've printed business cards. It was at FedEx before. I can't speak to any local printer, but it's $100 for $10 if you go pick it up. I don't think that's steep at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could afford that.
Yeah.
I could swing $10.
And
Let me check with our local guy. Generally, his deal with me is that he will match any price I bring him and then beat it by 10%.
Yeah,
for being local.
And keep it local too. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I also hesitate to say we all need 100 business cards. Again, maybe
Right.
you guys are doing way more than me. I don't think I would go through 100. I would say upper limit 50. But
then you get into you lose economies of scale the smaller quantity you get.
yeah, I mean that's the problem is
right.
If I'm only going to be secretary for not that much longer, I'm not going to print 1 million of them. Because once I'm not secretary anymore, once Nate Stevens is not the secretary, it's kind of hard to use.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, they're not too expensive.
Okay. I'm glad we started the conversation.
Okay, so it would have to be 100 of the exact same card to get that bulk price deal. Is what you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, the Office Depot thing is 100 of exactly the same.
Oh, it's exactly okay.
Yes.
Okay, I guess we could look at pricing for smaller quantities, like Nate said, like if you feel like you only need, you know, about upper limit 50 or something like that. I mean, assuming that it's still going to be probably $10 or less. I could still front that if everyone's okay with paying out of pocket for business cards. So then the idea
I would actually
is,
encourage that we paid out of pocket rather than utilize donor funds for that.
Yeah. So yeah, the idea, I guess, is just exactly the formatting on that, which is something else I can try to work with and you know, send out ideas if you guys want to do it that way. And then hopefully maybe, yeah, I guess we'll have an idea. We can either send it all at once together or individually, either or.
Okay. The good news is I can actually, that's probably within my wheelhouse when it comes to graphic design.
Awesome.
Because it's a lot of text, which I'm really good at typing. And I already kind of have an idea of, you know, the branding standards that we currently use. So.
Okay. Yeah, that would be perfect. All right. That's all I have.
All right. So here's the big one. This is the big agenda item, number 13, the registered LPF engagement program. This is something that I brought up. I believe it was my second or third meeting after moving to Pinellas County in 2019. I brought it up to the officer team then, and it's something that I think would be a fantastic way for us to grow, especially since we have 2,902 registered LPF voters here in Pinellas County. We have the second most of any county in the state. And let me share my screen so that you guys can see. Start share. So you guys remember this, I imagine, where we had all of this. You guys can see that, right? I'm not crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool. So where we broke up the county into the 11, I believe Camila said that it's fire districts or fire response zones, where we have the county broken up by zip code and these zones. There are 11 of them. You probably remember seeing, oh man, where is it? Not this. Hang on, not this one. You guys probably remember seeing this at some point in time, where we had them color coded by zip code and the populations for each. We did, I believe it was the February meeting where we went through and we talked about them after I got my first disc from the Secretary of State's office. And so the good news is I have actually done the work, the legwork with the June disc that I got in the mail yesterday, and have broken it out for our for hours by zone and color. And that is available in the Google Drive. I did not share it in Slack because it does contain personal information of our members, i.e. their phone numbers, email addresses, street addresses, and the like. And it is an Excel file, and I would not want my information to be out there. And so I felt that it was probably best for us not to dox someone. But so basically how this works, currently when I get the new disc, I send an email that welcomes them, thanking them for registering LPF. I believe you guys were sent one of those when I first started doing that after the February disc. That's all that's currently being done to welcome new LPF registered voters. The growth plan that I shared with you guys in Slack details doing in-person events done by zone, where we invite by mail and hopefully by phone, for as many people as we have phone numbers, an event in their place, in their general area. We can combine zones if we have some. We can, spread them out if we need to. We can, whatever. The first thing that we need to do is we need to figure out a date and a location that we want to do it. I look at a timeline of about 2 months from now. So if we were going to do our very first one, I would say that it would need to happen at the end of August to give us enough lead time to have the postcards printed that are going to be sent to them, for us to have a volunteer event where we put labels or hand address, depending on how many we're sending out. And again, we're talking about 1/11 of the county. So we're talking about 300 approximately for each of the 11 zones. If we want to combine some of the smaller ones together, that's fine. Or if we find there isn't a suitable meeting place for an open house type event, where essentially we are offering a couple of hors d'oeuvres, maybe first drink free kind of a thing, or is on the party, where we just are there to introduce ourselves, have at least 2 officers present, elected by the body to help run the event. So that's kind of where I'm looking. Like I said, the first thing for us is to choose a zone and a date so that we can find a location so that we can go ahead and get the ball rolling on having things printed. Again, we'll have generic postcards that meet the postcard rate for mailing, which is less than first class mail. It'll save us about 20 cents per. And we will put address labels on them that have the address, or we can self-address if we want, if we have somebody with particularly good penmanship, at a volunteer event where we engage our active members to participate. And then it will have some other information about us meeting monthly on the 3rd Thursday of the month, the coffee talks that happen on the 2nd Saturday of the month, yoga happening on the 1st Sunday of the month, and the leadership team meeting happening on the last Wednesday of the month, which has been our standard schedule, aside from a few deviations that we've had to not conflict with other events or holidays. Essentially, that's the beginning, is us picking a zone and a date. Thoughts from you guys? I know that I spoke a lot. Questions, I guess, would be most important. And then thoughts about where we want to go, what we want to do, and how we wish to proceed.
Brett, do we have any way to cross-reference that LPF list for those respective zones of anyone that may be a small business owner that is like they own a restaurant?
Gotcha.
So where we can try to keep money libertarian.
I completely understand. I know that that's going to be difficult. Because if they live in a zone, their business may not be in a zone, if that makes sense, and we only have residential addresses. So it could be that somebody is a member that lives in Clearwater but has a restaurant in downtown St. Pete. They wouldn't be in the same zone, if that makes sense. So no, I don't have a way to cross-reference in the way that you're talking about.
Could we send out like an email like saying, hey, if you are in either, you have a business in either of these zip codes, please reach out to us, and then maybe we can talk to them about possibly hosting something there,
We can do that. Any other questions before I have a little more to go with? Okay, so this worked very well, both in Marion County, Indiana, and Cobb County, Georgia. We did an open house at a lowbrow art studio that is also a tattoo parlor. We got the space for free. We actually had a home brewer who made beer for us that bottled beer for us to give to of-age attendees. Sorry, Nate. And we had a volunteer who cooked food for us to serve at this event from their own kitchen. That was the very first time I was introduced to the open house concept. we ended up walking. We had attendance for this. This happened. The very first one, we had 45 people that showed up. We did not have the data capability that we do here with party registration. We did not have the ability to mail them in the way that we do here with the data that we get from the state. So we have a lot more available to us, which is why I think having things broken up into zones like we do will probably get us a better turnout. Again, the open house idea is drawing on our strengths. If we have somebody who wants to cook, if we have somebody who wants to make beer, all of those kinds of things, those are fantastic in-kind donations that we can take as a party to utilize for the events. And then it gives us an opportunity to meet people near where they are. They're not coming to a business meeting, which generally can be fairly boring. Although I would have to say that I think that the meetings that I have led have not been as boring as they could have been. Plus, they're a lot shorter than they used to be in terms of the actual business from calling to order to adjournment. This is a social event in the same way that we've done with our sunset socials and a lot of the stuff that we've done outside of business meetings to attract active people to get to know us, because as I've shared, activity breeds more activity and we bring active people into the party. Additionally, when they get to know us, when they get to know Jasmine as an individual, when they get to know Nate as an individual, when they get to know Camilo as an individual, when they get to know Marcia as an individual, when they get to know our members, there is a much more difficult no when we ask that they participate in something, when we haven't asked for them, when they have a friendship bond or an acquaintance bond, than it is to ignore an email that I send them or Jasmine sends them or Nate sends them or Camilo sends them. So the idea is this is furthering our outreach in a way that is strictly our event. The other thing that we can be looking at is as we look at outreach events upcoming, I'm specifically thinking of Pride next year, that we host something shortly after the 4th of July, where we can invite people that we meet at Pride utilizing the same postcards, honestly, with information that we collect for new people, and invite them to a Pride specific social event that happens right after Independence Day next year. Thinking about things where when we are going to be out and about, we can invite people 2 to 3 weeks later. It's far enough out from the event that we have that we're not going to be conflicting with a lot of calendars. I know that there are some people who do have very busy ones, but I want to make sure that we're not making it too close to the event itself and we're not pushing it too far off that they forget about it. Generally, what I've found is 2 to 3 weeks seems to be ideal. So that's kind of the idea. We're looking at picking, again, take a look at what was sent to you and what is available on Slack or the data that's on Google Drive. Let's see where we want to go. The quick glance that I made of the zones that are color coded, by the way, in what's on Google Drive, is that there are about 275 per. They're pretty evenly split, except for zone 11, which is the one, the Pinellas Point area. That one is a very small geographic zone and it's kind of sparsely populated. That one did not have as many as some of the others, but generally speaking, they are in the 250 to 300 range per zone. And again, we have the opportunity to set something up near them that is in person, that they can meet us. But our first action that we need to take is figure out when and where. Once we have that, then we can proceed with finding a place, and then we can figure out how we're going to have a volunteer event, and we can figure out how we're, then we can ask for money. The beauty of the plan is it activates lots of different parts of the party. It activates the money part for people who wish to donate to see us do something. It is fantastic that we have monthly donors that sustain us. But when we can actually point to what their money's going to, they're apt to give more. When it comes to a volunteer event, you have people that want to give their time. That is an opportunity for us to also get into the nuts and bolts of politics, because you would be surprised to know how much political activity takes place in putting stamps on stuff and sealing envelopes. We bypass it frequently because we aren't that organized, but we have an opportunity where we can reach out to people that are local to us and set this up. This is an ideal time for us to train our future campaign workers in the nuts and bolts of politics, and will activate the volunteer base within the party as well. And by having these activities, we're breeding more activity, and like breeds like, so we'll bring more active people into the party. That's the sales pitch. Thoughts, questions, concerns, and what part of it do you want to do?
Yeah, it sounds great. That's something I think we talked about early on when we first came out of convention in January. So yeah, absolutely, I'm with it. And whatever I need to contribute, going to events, whatever, I'm all in for that, and sharing our message, because we know that we're the superior party.
Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to find venues?
I'll head it up.
Nate, you'd like to find venues for us?
Yeah.
Okay. Ideally, we do not want a chain.
Yeah, I'll talk to you more about that. I'm sure requirements
Okay.
are going to be about the same as our business venue.
Yep. I'd like to keep them similar. We have the opportunity to use Nueva if we'd like for that area. Since we've already built that relationship, that might be something that might be a good place for us to start. Just a thought, throwing that out there for you guys, but we also have to remember we've done a lot in the south part of the county when it comes to events and activities with the Sunset Social, where we currently meet for business.
So that's kind of what I was going to say, is I think we might have to start looking at some places that are a little bit more central of the county.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at the map, I'm thinking we should also look for places around, I'd say between like Pinellas Park and Largo seem very central to the county.
Okay. So are you talking about using those as our first open houses, zones 5 and 6?
Yes.
Okay. So just so that I'm clear, you're thinking that we pick a location somewhere in zone 5, one of those 3 zip codes there, that's in Largo, kind of, or toward Feather Sound, a little bit into Clearwater. Find a location there, invite the people that we have on our list there in zone 5 to that event in that zone. Is that what you're thinking?
I was thinking we still invite like the entire county, but
of course I would invite our members at large, but specifically this is intended to bring people to us that aren't already participating with us.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, like I was thinking that could be a good plan just because it's central, but my other idea is we start with the more heavily populated areas as well.
Okay. Well, they're based on the list that's in Google Drive that you can see, they are between 250 and 300 per zone.
Yeah.
Almost across the board. So we're not going to find one that is better than the other based on how many people we can invite, because they're generally about the same.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
So do we want to go ahead and start with zone 5 there, Largo? Do we want to do one Pinellas Park? Do we want to do one further north because we have been so south heavy? What are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, Pinellas Park or Largo, I think that's a great idea. It's almost dead smack in the middle of the county, and that that'd be a good place at least to begin the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, Nate.
Yeah, I would also go in. I'm gonna start with something. I'm gonna look around. I'm thinking something centery and then also something northy. Maybe week after each other. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. So you're thinking that we do a couple of these back to back.
Just a thought. Yeah. Like,
Okay.
hey, you live here, which is not too far from here. And here on the 28th, we have this event. And then a week later, a little further north, you can come to all of them. You can come to the one closest to you. You can come to any permutation.
Got it.
Come have
Okay.
fun.
So, yep. Go ahead, Jasmine. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say the other idea I wanted to, before I forget. So, because you were talking about how like next year possibly doing something right after Pride, right, with the people that we
Yep.
pick up from Pride events. I was thinking we could also incorporate like those other. I'm gonna say equal opportunity because I'm an equal opportunity rep at work.
Mhm.
Those other equal opportunity holidays as well.
Okay.
Maybe kind of like do that to kind of show that, you know, we're on everybody's side. So not just Pride, but like maybe we could do the same thing for like Women's Day and like Black History Month and things like that, or
Sure.
you know, Hispanic Heritage Month. And then get some like, I think that could also generate interest from like the general population to help participate in events if we kind of theme them towards, you know, like something like that.
So the way that I looked at it is that it would be outreach events that we participate in, that we would invite people to something a couple of weeks later. So we would want to, I guess, take a look at what we would participate in February during Black History Month, maybe something at the Woodson Museum, or 22nd South has a festival that happens in February. We have the opportunity to be a part, hopefully, of their event, and then host something a few weeks later where we invite contacts from that event. That's kind of how those type of things work, but we would utilize the same methodology. We would find a place, you know, we would have our volunteers. So this all just kind of gets us in that cycle of finding a venue for a place to have a social, inviting the people that it's relevant to, but we start with our LPF low-hanging fruit as we've zoned the county out.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, and I'll
I
start.
love what you're
looking
thinking,
at-
though.
Okay, yeah, I'll start looking at, you know, what events are going on around the county that we could actually kind of grab at. Like, I'm thinking we can start like this fall.
I think you're right.
So I'll start looking because I know I think like mid-September or October is Hispanic Heritage Month, so I can start. I'm assuming COVID should be kind of not over, but kind of.
It's not really a concern I've found with a lot of events that have traditionally been held.
Okay. Yeah. So like, yeah, by then there should be something. So I'll start looking and then see what we can kind of do from there as well.
All right. So are we set then? We want to do something. I think zone 6 is going to be easier for Nate. 1 for geography, 2 because there's a lot in that area in terms of venues. Do we want to designate our first one to be in zone 6? Maybe do a debrief after so that we can learn, you know, take what we've learned to apply to the next one, but do the next one maybe in the north part of the county, maybe the zone 3 Dunedin area where we have a lot of support, or maybe even at the top of the county, Tarpon Springs, Palm Harbor. So I'm kind of looking then at maybe we do something mid-September to give us enough time. Nate, do you think that you could find something in the next 3 weeks in zone 6 there, Pinellas Park?
Yeah. I mean, zone 6 is geographically huge. Something's in there.
Oh, there's tons of businesses there. I mean, that has that has everything that you would need because 19 cuts through over there. So you've got all of the development there in Pinellas Park, along Park. You've got all of the stuff. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of places in zone 6. I figured that was probably the easiest for us to find a venue. And then once we have a venue, we can start the other cards in this house of cards that we're building, we can start the next levels. So Nate's going to pick our venue or bring venue choices to us. Does anybody wish to coordinate the volunteer effort leading up to our event?
I can do that.
Okay, so what we're looking at is we're taking the postcards that I've already quoted out, and I will just design, I'll bring to you to make sure that I haven't screwed anything up or I haven't done something stupid. The idea would be that we would either paste labels and paste a label that has the location, date, and time, and both of those areas on the postcard would be blank for those, or we can hand address if you prefer at the volunteer event. We would probably want to do that at least a month before so that it gets to them in their hands and we're not subject to a USPS slowdown necessarily by cutting it too close to that 2 to 3 weeks after we contact them. Does that work for you,
Okay.
Jasmine?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. And again, I'm available to do it. I just want, and to help. I just don't want to be the only one doing it. And then when it comes to dropping them off at the post office, that's nothing. Stamping them, that'll be part of the volunteer event. Camilo, could you be a part of the asks that we're going to have for future donations to show what's going on and actually document kind of the process of what we're doing and lay that out for an email to our existing list asking for donations for the project?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And you have a good enough idea of what we're looking at in terms of what that process looks like that you could outline and share with donors for that ask?
And what you mean, the plan to ask for more donations? Help me understand
Yes.
that.
Yeah. So we want to lay out what we're doing, the activity that we are embarking on already, because we have enough in the bank that we can get started. But the idea would be that for future events like this, we would like to have donations based on the activity that we're generating. We'll be able to share results and the like from those things. So it would be kind of keeping a log of what's happening, what's happened, and what our results are so that we can share that as we make those asks.
Oh,
So
yeah,
kind
absolutely.
of chronicling what we're doing with it so that the ask can happen for, I hate to say the donor class, but the people who can donate treasure as opposed to those who are more willing or more apt to donate time.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, I have to track both for audit purposes anyways. So it's just a matter of putting a report together, essentially in email format for what's already occurring. So yeah, that's not a problem.
It's amazing. Like, I was thinking about that synergy already. All right, guys, are there any questions about how we're going to move forward with this? Nate, we're looking mid-September. That'll get us away from start of school, I think, enough that we shouldn't be too terribly worried about conflicting there. So we're looking for mid-September for our very first one, and we'll take the lessons that we learn as we go. Any questions before we open it up to member comment?
Okay, one question. So
Yes.
when we kind of start getting in those new people who aren't already libertarian,
Yes.
when they start asking about I guess politics in general, like what we're doing, do we have an idea as to like what we're going to do kind of in the future, I guess, when it comes to like local politics and things like that?
So the other volunteer project that I have ongoing that I've already begun the county level aspect of, but I need the cities and towns aspect completed just because it's not something that I have been able to sit down and do, but identifying future races, future elections, and getting involved in those cities, towns, and at the county level to make sure that we're up to date and abreast on the issues. Those are going to be our next crop of candidates. And by knowing what they're looking to run for, they're going to know which meetings they need to attend. And so it kind of sets us up for future political activity. And that's kind of the way that really any political candidate should be starting. They should be going to the meetings for the position that they want, so that they are well versed on the issues that are important to that position, rather than relying strictly on, oh, well, they're an R or they're a D or they're an L, and actually being able to articulate the issues. So it's kind of building the minors for our future candidate crop.
Okay.
It's kind of the blueprint that I used when running for office.
Okay, that sounds good. I just wanted to make sure that, we kind of add that in there because we're a political party.
Completely understood. The idea, though, generally is we're bringing low-hanging fruit to us that may not know we exist, and just letting them know that we are here, who we are, the events that we have, and introduce ourselves to hopefully make some connection.
Okay, that sounds good.
If there is no objection, we can move on to the member comments. Hearing none, we are open for 5 minutes for member comment. Aubrey, I'm going to go ahead and extend a provisional membership for you for the remainder of the evening, if there's something that you would like to add as well.
I'm good. I was just here mostly to listen and learn.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
Thank
you
you.
attending, Aubrey. It's fantastic.
All right, thank you.
Are there any members of the leadership team that wish to take off their leadership team hat and speak as a general member? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
You guys are fighting for the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? And we are adjourned.